The Institute of Internal Auditors presents All Things Internal Audit. In this episode, Charles King sits down with Becky Mann to discuss what it takes to build and evolve an internal audit function inside a global firm. They share lessons from leading internal audit through disruption, how to structure teams around the business, and why auditors must move beyond rigid audit plans to deliver real value.
Welcome to All Things Internal Audit. My name's Charles King. I'm the Technology and Innovation Leader at KPMG's Internal Audit Services practice, and I'm here today with Becky Mann. And this is a special treat for me because Becky is KPMG's Chief Audit Executive. Becky, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
I will. Well, first of all, Charles, thanks for having me. This is a treat for me as well. Like you said, I lead KPMG's internal audit function. And so I get the privilege of auditing the auditors and everything that goes along with that. I started my career in client-facing internal audit roles, doing controls assessments, compliance reviews, initially in the government practice, and then changed into our commercial side of the house. Sarbanes-Oxley happened, and I spent a lot of time in controls testing there. And there came a point where life was happening and I needed to hit pause on serving my clients. And so I had the opportunity to do some different things in the operations side of the firm and got to learn a little bit of the behind the scenes of what goes on, which was unique and different. And I don't know that a lot of our client-facing folks get that appreciation. And then about 6 years ago, those two experiences married up to make me uniquely qualified to lead our internal audit department. And so I've been doing that for the last 6 years, and it has been both eye-opening, rewarding, and I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to talk about it.
So you took a new job right in the middle of COVID,
Yes.
which was disruptive for everyone and certainly disruptive for KPMG. That must have been a pretty exciting time.
It was exciting. There were so many things happening in the world, obviously, and trying to understand and build a new internal audit approach, really think about what are the risks to our firm, how do we need to be helping our firm mitigate those risks, all in the wake of this big, giant risk of COVID and trying to protect our people.
And pandemic was not on anyone's bingo card. Like all of these enterprise risk management things, nobody pegged pandemic as
That's
a
right.
big risk.
So it was a lot of figuring it out as we went. And like anything, when you're trying something new and different and implementing a strategy and building a team, you find things that work. And so we stuck with those things. And then, obviously there were things that didn't work as well. And so we tried to learn from that and course correct and keep at it.
Well, I want to dig into what worked and what didn't work in a minute, but let's level set a little bit first. Talk to me about what the internal audit function at KPMG looks like. How many people do you have, and what are some of the focal points for how those people spend their time?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have a team of about 40 people. That includes some of our offshore resources that we leverage, just like our client-facing folks and probably most of our clients as well. We are geographically dispersed all over the U.S. firm, and our audit plan is also a lot like what you would see at our clients. Obviously, we're not a SOC shop, we're a private partnership, but we do focus on financial controls. And so we have a portfolio of audits around our finance and accounting group. We do technology and data audits. We're looking at a lot of our process level controls that enable our client-facing professionals to do what they do and to do it seamlessly and efficiently. So we deliver about 25 audits a year, give or take. We do some agreed upon procedures that both our board and management tap into our skill set for. And we do a bit of consultative work as well. Less of that. One of the areas we kind of want to expand into is providing some more of those insights in a different way. But that's the gist of our plan. We are not the peer review, quality review of looking at client deliverables.
Right.
So
Yeah. We have a separate function for that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes some confusion on that of are we, looking at what we deliver to our clients and how well we align to the standards, and that is not us. So we're kind of the back office, for lack of a better word.
And functionally, you roll up to our general counsel.
I do. Our general counsel also heads up our risk management, compliance, all of our second line functions. And so it's kind of a good home for us. I do have that line into the audit and finance committee. So I report into them and have a great relationship with our board. They're very supportive of our work and very challenging to us as well, which I think is
Yeah.
important.
Good. When you were talking a little bit about the role change from being a client-facing professional to taking on some internal roles and eventually becoming the chief audit executive, you said that some things that you had tried worked and some things didn't work. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that worked. What are some of the big lessons learned and successes that you had in steering a new way forward in our internal audit function?
One of the things we focused on was our team and how to build that team in a way that allowed us to understand the business that we were auditing. We've adapted that construct. I think we got it pretty close out of the gate, but what we've done is adapt to our firm universe such that we have folks that are focused on particular parts of our firm. And the expectation is that not only do they understand how that business works and the processes that go along with it, the risks they're facing into, but they also understand the initiatives and the investments that we're making and the stakeholders, and that they do become this trusted advisor as we've executed our audits. And it's really helped too in giving our team different experiences, allowing them to learn from each other. And then I have the unique benefit of having a firm of experts for just about any subject I would want to audit. And so, as needed, I can tap into all of our professionals when we do have a bit of a subject matter that either we're not familiar with, it's really unique, we really need to drill into, cyber as an area, making sure that we are evaluating that holistically. And then I think that too has helped us identify where do we need to kind of up our game and skill sets in-house such that we don't need to tap into our experts, because more and more those areas are becoming standard. Like everyone needs to know cyber risk. Everyone needs to understand how data works. We can't be successful without it. So that's been what's worked. Adapting our teams, challenging them. I think one of the things that didn't work so well out of the gate was a very stay the course approach. This is our audit plan. It was approved by the board. We've got to deliver this audit plan. So we were dynamic in our audit planning in that we were willing to take on additional audits as folks needed them, or look into special projects as we were asked to do that. But we weren't so great at letting go of an audit. And so I think realizing that the auditee wasn't ready, wasn't auditable, there really wasn't a lot of value we could add through a traditional audit. And knowing when and how to either give the business space to, if they're in the middle of a reorg or a process change or a system implementation, let them figure that out. Or how do we provide value again in more of a consultative way that helps them think controls minded, a risk approach to what they're building, such that, we don't turn around and then 6 months down the road, issue them an audit report and say you got it wrong, but really focusing in on the goal of helping the firm, reducing risk, improving our control environment, and how can we pivot and do that in a more forward-looking way than a retrospective traditional audit.
One of the things that you mentioned that I think is really interesting, and I don't know if I knew this, is that you have your team aligned around the way we are organized. So does that mean you've got audit, tax, and advisory professionals that are tagged to each of those things? How much deeper do you go? Is it that level, or is it even deeper than that?
No, it's about that level. So we call that portfolio, our revenue and growth portfolio. So the sides of our firm that are focused on driving revenue, our advisory, tax, and audit operations, how those work, our marketing functions, our growth and strategy sides of the house, clients and markets, all of that sits in what we call our revenue and growth portfolio. Then we have a business operations portfolio, which is more of our finance and accounting, talent and culture, our HR audits all sit in that portfolio. We have a technology and data portfolio, and tech and data obviously focus on our in-house technology estate and control environment, but also drive the integrated audits across the other portfolios as well, right? So they're evaluating our technology and data controls in both revenue and growth and business operations.
Got it. You mentioned that you bring people in as subject matter experts, but I think people also rotate through your department, right? They come out of the field for a little while, they might work in internal audit, and then they go back into some other function.
That's right, although this might be a bit of a sore subject because all of our rotations so far have just stayed with me. They've not gotten back into the field.
Well, I think that means they like it.
That's right. That's right. It's too good to leave. So, but yes, we have had that model, and it's worked well, at least from my perspective.
Yeah. So I think guest auditor programs are a really underutilized asset for internal audit teams. And I know we KPMG may be a little bit of a special case because that we have a lot of internal auditors, right? But I wonder, as you think about how you organize your guest auditor program, it's still a different thing, right? Doing client service, internal audit versus coming and being a part of, you're sort of going into industry without really going into industry. And the focus is different. The relationships are different. The dynamics, in terms of, I imagine in terms of budgeting and scheduling, like all that stuff is just a different thing. When you bring a guest auditor in, how do you onboard them into your function, and how do you make sure that they're ready to be successful?
That's a great question. It's tricky because what we do is different. And you're right, we do have a firm of auditors and folks that are, delivering wonderful solutions to our clients, but our approach to controls testing, it's a little bit different. A lot of times our controls aren't defined in a way that someone who's been doing Sarbanes-Oxley audits or, a third-year audit where they understand, here's my risk and control matrix, here's my audit program guide, and here's my test steps, and let me go execute that. So it is a lot of training in the sense of making sure folks are aligned around the operations of the audit entity. What do they do for our firm? What are the biggest risks to what they do for our firm? And then how do we make sure that we have the right controls in place? So it's a little bit more kind of critical thinking, I think, in that pre-planning phase, because it is, in most cases, the first time an area has been audited. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we understand whatever the audit entity is, how they work, what they do, how they measure success, and then that helps us design a better audit of them. And then I like to think that folks are better equipped when they wonder if they do go back into serving clients, having that experience and really challenging themselves to think about how does this work, and not simply testing the controls that have been assigned to, but really learning and understanding why those controls are important in that process.
One of the things that I think is really remarkable about the success you've had at the firm is that when I talk to members of the board, they are very interested and engaged in the work that you do. And I think that's a testament to your leadership and your ability to communicate with them. But what are some of your habits or lessons learned, tricks and tips, whatever you want to call them, about how to engage with board members, with executive stakeholders to make sure that you're delivering what they need, you are a valuable asset for them?
No, you're right. We do have tremendous board support and management support. Our senior leaders are very grateful for the service we provide them and giving them comfort to sleep at night as to, where they need to worry and where they don't. One of the things that we've done is a board orientation. So making sure that those nuances that we just talked about around internal audit of professional services, private partnership, how is that different than what you've experienced at all of your clients? What are you going to see that I'm delivering and in my audit reports that you probably haven't seen at clients, and how are those expectations different? So we spend a lot of time with our new board members making sure that our expectations are aligned around our plan and around what they can expect to see and how it can help them in their role as governing and overseeing some of our ERM risks. The other thing is transparency in all of our reporting, findings analysis, making sure that everyone is aware of where things stand, how we are driving to the risk reduction, the remediation plan, and where we're not. And we need a little bit more muscle or escalation there. We spend a lot of time making sure that our board understands the current environment with our findings. And then I think the last piece that's important with our board and even our management committee relationship is the socialization. No one likes surprises, right? And so no one wants to find out that they're in the internal audit plan when you're presenting the internal audit plan to the management committee. And just like no one wants to find out that their audit didn't go so smoothly when you're reporting that to the board. So making sure that we have these channels of communication, that we're talking to folks regularly, that they know what's coming and when, I think has been, obviously one of the keys to success there.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so much of friction is around mismatched expectations. And it sounds like if I were going to distill that down, it's making sure that expectations are aligned, which doesn't necessarily impact the work itself. It's just making sure that you're communicating about the work in a way that makes everyone, as comfortable as they can be. I think that's great. So you've been an auditor for a while, right? In all kinds of different capacities. I think as a profession, sometimes we question our relevance, or we think AI is going to make auditing irrelevant, or there's always some kind of crisis in internal auditing. But I'm a proud internal auditor. I love what we do. I love the work that we do. And I wonder for you, when you think about, what draws you to audit, what do you get excited about? What do you feel passionate about? Like, tell me a little bit about, just for you personally, how do you drive satisfaction from coming to work every day?
Well, my husband would say it's that I get paid to critique and challenge people on everything. And that is a bit of it. But I do think I'm like you. I'm a proud internal auditor. I think the value in identifying gaps before they manifest into big issues. I'm a big believer in, the little things build to the big things. And so making sure that we have addressed our open risks before they become something that is bigger. I think that's a big one for me. The other thing is a lot of times, and I'm sure this is true with your clients as well, we know some of our challenges. We know the problem, but we don't know exactly why that problem is there. What is the root cause of it? And I think serving in this role allows me and us to really help management pinpoint, here's why this is the problem, helps us articulate how to solve that problem, and really puts management on the hook to address it. If it's something that we agree needs to be addressed, because again, a lot of times we all know what the challenges are, but it's fixing it that's the hard part. And I think that's the other thing I try to stay focused on. What is the outcome? How do I drive to getting this fixed? Is the mechanism to do that an audit report? Is the mechanism to do that, an escalation? Or is the mechanism to do that simply a conversation and making sure that everyone is aligned around this risk that we're presented with and how we're going to fix it?
Yeah. I don't know that we always have a great graduated approach to risk, right? I think too often in the internal audit space, we have a big list of risks, and then we're going to do an audit of this and we're not going to do an audit of that. And we have this binary on-off decision, right? And sometimes we'll add a third choice, which is we can do a kind of consulting engagement. But I think maybe as a profession, we need to think more about the steps on the continuum between shrug and do nothing on one side and do a full forensic investigation on the other side. There's got to be more stops on that continuum than audit or not audit. And I think maybe that's what you're alluding to, is figuring out the right tool to get assurance and manage risk is part of the magic of running a good audit team and getting the trust of management.
Exactly. And you said that way better than I did. Thank you.
Well, Becky, it's been great having you here. Thank you for coming on All Things Internal Audit. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And as a partner in the firm, thanks for everything that you do. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and rate us. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also catch other episodes on YouTube or at theiia.org. That's THEIIA.org.